on. Don't go yet.
No. You just.
Okay, you're live.
Hi. This story, written in 1936 by Monroe Leaf and illustrated with one of his really good friends, Robert Lawson, it has become a classic in a variety of different ways. It's actually won a very early Oscar, not the one that we've seen it most recently, where it was redone by, I do believe it was Walt Disney. You can check that out. But whoever did it, it has been a movie. But my favorite version is the original version called The Story of Ferdinand. And it takes place in Spain. It's a beautiful story. And it just catches my heart every time I read it and got to tell it too. It gets a whole variety of different cast of characters that are easily available around your house. And as I always say to you, it doesn't matter if you have the exact thing. What we use is anything that is around us that works for us. So if you only told the story with a cow puppet, which I'm going to start you out with because a bull is started out by its mother, the cow, that would be enough. And if you only had one bull that you could imagine growing up to be from a little bull to a great big powerful bull, that would be enough. And if you only had a bee, who is actually the character in the story that moves us all along, that would be enough. And if you had them all, super. And if you only had the story, that would be okay too. So it is a book, 1936, easily available in libraries if you can get to them. You can also get it from a bookstore, or you can just listen to this story and tell it. So here's what we're going to need. First of all, I have my bag of stuff. The bag is full. And the bag itself is going to be used today too. A different one, but I just wanted to show you. And the bag should be able to sit up because we're going to return it to the bag's original form, which is a tree. And as you know, trees sit up. But in my bag, I have a variety of things that Ferdinand needs. So we're going to do that first and show you the props. So here it is in our story. Ferdinand loves to sit under his tree and smell the flowers. Actually, he liked to smell flowers wherever they were. So this is not a real flower, unless you happen to be a cloth person. But it's easily available. Well, it was to me. I had them when I set up a fancy table. So think of the possibilities. You could even wear it over your ear, which is what the ladies did when they went to see Ferdinand and the Matador in the arena in Madrid. So we need some flowers. I'm going to put them over next to me so I can grab them up. And yes, we need to create a character called a bee. So I will show you first that which the bee is made of. And of course, again, if you don't have one of these, you don't need to use it. But this is a ball, sponge ball. And what's cool about it is that when Ferdinand sits on it, it squishes. Now, if you were a sponge ball and somebody sat on you, you would be angry. Well, the bee gets really angry at Ferdinand. So allow me to show you. Forgive me if I am being repetitive. How we make the bee make its noise. What we do is just take, of course, you know this ball is yours, or you got permission to use the ball, right? Or use something else. Works with a tennis ball, but not as well. So here's our bee. And then what you do when Ferdinand the bull sits on him, imagine that, a bull sitting on a bee, it's going to go, ow. But bees don't say ow, right? What do they say? Bzz. And when bees are angry, what do? They sting, because that's the way they get rid of their quote unquote enemies, because they're protecting themselves. So here's our bee in its very, very beginning stages. And if you wanted to make it fancy like a bee, you know what a bee needs. Bees have stripes. So you could take a bunch of bee markers and just make stripes And that would begin to look like a bee, albeit orange, but maybe it's a new version of bee. We don't know. So rather than take all your time with our bee, I'm going to show you what happened one time when I was sitting thinking about making a bee, and I found a yellow ball. Oh my goodness, that bee was getting pollen, and I made him. He's a little. He's from a very sweet story I tell about Aesop, an Aesop fable. So here's our bee for our friend Ferdinand. He's going to, he most likely, not the queen. Queen is a she. These are the worker bees, just out gathering pollen so that the bees can make honey. Oh, I love bees. We can talk about that another time. And also in my bag, we have the body of a tree. And this is going to be the last thing I make as a prop for you. So what you need for a tree, and Ferdinand loves his tree, so I think we ought to do a gentle way, because we, of course, would never carve into a tree, right? We can cover it up. We can hang a sign on it carefully, but because Ferdinand loves his tree, I am going to put his name, Ferdinand the Bull, FB, Ferdinand the Bull, loves his tree, and it's a cork tree. Important thing to remember for our story, the cork trees, that's CT. So this is what I would imagine if he could, with his incredible, remarkable strength, he would create a tree which would sit down and Ferdinand would sit under it, where he would smell the flowers. Ooh, nice smell. But we're going to move ahead just a little bit to tell our story. And I am going to put a tree that I made next to me so you can see how easy it is to make a tree. And this happened to be a paper bag with handles. See? So I took some green old paper that somebody gave me with a present, stuffed a package, and I made it into a tree. I know you're all out there saying, whoa, tree, beautiful tree. Thank you so much. All green and lovely in the breezes. Crinkles, cool, huh? But wait a minute. Remember what kind of tree I said it was? A cork tree? So this is something you need to try and collect. Years and years and years ago, a buddy of mine, he used to collect corks and then they would recycle them. Very, very good for the world. So what I did was I said to him, excuse me, if you're not busy, I'd like to borrow one of these corks. Now, for those of you who don't yet imbibe or never have, that's just fine. You don't need a cork. You can also get a cork board, which would also make a great tree. And then what I took for my tree was when you take that cork out of said bottle, it has a little hole in it, which is perfect, right, for hanging your corks. So I put one on that end, and then I bent the branch. Now, the truth told, I remember I always tell you the truth. This is not how a cork tree grows, but we want everyone to know when they're walking by that this is a cork tree, and this is the famous cork tree. These are called pipe cleaners, although they don't clean pipes anymore. So we call them paper fasteners. So this is Ferdinand the Bull's cork tree. It's going to be right there. So you know it's a cork tree. Other things, of course, are used for too. And of course, I forgot I made the symbol of how much Ferdinand loves his tree on the other tree. So I'm just going to make a heart there just in case. When you have time, I would actually recommend putting a little bark sign on it. Not like woof woof bark. We don't have a dog in this story. So right over here, just so you can see it, I'm going to put Ferdinand's tree and hope it doesn't fall over. And you know what happens if it falls over? I'll pick it up. Not a big deal. I'll put it here right now until we need it. I can just reach over and grab a tree, which is not something most people can do. So who did I forget? Marilyn. the hero of our story, and his mother, who loves him. Now, there are a couple of heroes. So, not heroes, characters. We have Ferdinand as a baby bull, Ferdinand as a grown up bull, and we have Mama. Mama is, as this wonderful author likes to say, just a cow. One of my favorite lines. So, how do we make a cow? Because got to start with a cow, because from the cow comes the bull. So, here is a model. Now, this is kind of hard for, I wish that I could send it to you. So, what I thought I'd do is just put this up here like this. Maybe sometime you could even take a screenshot of it. I don't want you to miss my voice. So, here's the picture. Here's me. So what happens if you get a little bit of lines in it? You might come up with a cow like that. So you're saying to yourself, you can do a screenshot of that one too. What do you make it out of, Marilyn? Isn't that kind of fancy? Well, that's what I do. So I can't make any excuses for making it a little bit fancy. This cow has been with me a long time, but it's made out of cardboard. And then I keep this, the cap, from the milk carton right nearby. And I attach it because to make it a puppet, you have to make it move. Now, you know, and I know what we get milk from, milk cartons. And you know, and I know that a cow gives milk. So it seemed only logical to me that this cow, Ferdinand's mama, once upon a time gave milk. So here's Mama. All right, for all you sports fans, there is a very famous team, I should put you right near me, in Chicago that plays basketball, and they are called the Bulls. So it is not hard for you to find. Don't worry about trademark infringement. We aren't selling the show. The picture of, drumroll, a bull. Now, this is Ferdinand as a baby. And he too, although cows give milk and they're always the females, bulls are always the males, they do not give milk. But they come from the same source. So here's Ferdinand the bull as a baby, and he has a body too. You can make it red. Now, if you don't drink milk in your house, if you drink almond milk, you can put one of these here. No big deal. If you drink Oatly, you can do that too. If you don't like any milk, you don't even need that. So Ferdinand the bull does grow up. So he grows up from being a little bull to being a big bull. Covers up my face. So again, what I'm going to do is try to put that right in the screen so you can take a picture of him too. Screenshot. Love screenshots. And now we would attach this dude to this great big milk carton so that I have something to grab onto when I am telling you the story and you are telling it to me or just listening. Wait a minute. So we have the bulls, we have the cow, we have the tree. We don't have El Matador. Matadors are heroes in Spain. People love to go to the bull races. They have all sorts of ceremony. The ladies come. Remember, they wear flowers behind their ears. When the matadors come out, they throw the flowers in the center of the ring. So you see where our story is going. But you don't know our friend, Ferdinand. So I made the funny matador when I first told this story years and years ago. And I made it out of something that matadors do. Although mine is never, ever sharp or dangerous. So here he is, the matador might hold one of these. And then I put, this is his body that holds him up because I'm a puppeteer, as are you, even if you don't make a puppet listener. And here he is, the bull, the matador. Bulls do not like the color red. It makes them angry. So the matador always wears a red cape. The matador is always quite fine and proud. And the matador's job is to kill the bull. So, keeping all that in mind, one last thing we can do to replace our story, which will always be a great opener too, is one of ta-da! So, with our cast handy, we are about to hear the story of Ferdinand the Bull. Once upon a time, on a farm, there lived a bull. He was a gentle bull, and his mother was often worried about him. Young Ferdinand the Bull did not like the way the other bulls played. They liked to buck at each other. They liked to snort. They liked to make a lot of noise. They spent their days in the ranch, in the farm, butting at each other, making noise, saying who could be the biggest and the bravest of all. But Ferdinand was not interested in that at all. Ferdinand liked to walk to this edge of the ranch and sit underneath the cork tree. And once there, Ferdinand would smell the flowers. Now, smelling the flowers was not something that was exclusive to Ferdinand under his tree. He would often walk out into the fields and smell the flowers and sit and think. Now, Ferdinand's mother, who was just a cow, worried very much about her gentle son. She was afraid that he would be lonely, but Ferdinand assured her that he was never lonely. And she was a smart mama cow, and that was good enough for her. As the years went by, Mama watched Ferdinand grow to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until at last he was as big as all the other bulls. And you would think that a bull as powerful and as fierce as that would want to jump and buckhorn spell the other bulls. But not our Ferdinand. No, Ferdinand was much the same. Ferdinand liked to sit in his cork tree and smell the flowers. And so went his days. Oh, yes, the other bulls made fun of Ferdinand. They thought he was quite unusual, and therefore they made fun of him. One day, coming to the ranch, to the farm, where Ferdinand the Bull was sitting peacefully under his cork tree, there came the matador. The matador was getting ready for his final bull ring fight. He wanted to prove that he was the bravest, the finest, and the most incredible matador of all. And he was looking for the wildest, the jumpiest, the fiercest bull of all. And he went out to a farm where he had heard a bull such as that most likely did exist. Well, when he looked out into the field, all the other bulls, of course, were doing exactly what he wanted to see. They were jumping, they were butting heads, they were snorting, they were kicking, and they were making a great deal of noise. And then he saw in the corner, quietly getting towards his cork tree, one of the biggest of all. It was Ferdinand. Ferdinand was heading towards his cork tree. He had no interest in what all the other bulls were doing. He just wanted to get out of all the noise and the fray. He wanted to sit and smell the flowers. He was about to do that, but then something happened that most likely had happened before, but never had Ferdinand gotten in his way. Bees like to sit on the flowers as well, and the bee had just sat on the rose that Ferdinand was about to smell and sit on next to. But the bee, carefully seeing that Ferdinand was about to sit down, moved out of his way, but not soon enough, and Ferdinand sat right on the bee. And the bee did what bees do and stung Ferdinand. Yow, yow, he said. Bzz, 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 and the bee went off, and Ferdinand jumped and snorted. He hurt so much that he snorted and jumped higher than he had ever jumped before. Oh, when the matador saw all this activity in the corner of the farm, the ranch, he said, "Oh, that's the bull I want." Ferdinand, of course, didn't want to go, and all the other bulls were so jealous. But Ferdinand was lassoed, put on a cart, and off to Madrid with the matador. Oh, poor Ferdinand, so scared. They locked him up in the cages that all the bulls go into before the fights. The process of such, as I said before, bullfights was so remarkable, so beautiful. Everybody sat around the bull ring, and the ladies were all beautifully dressed. They had flowers in their hair. And Ferdinand sat and waited. He did not know what to expect. So many things happened before he even had to come out. While the ladies sat, first came the picadillos, and they threw flowers out on the fields, and the ladies honored them with flowers from their hair. And then came the matadors. And the finest matadors always came last. Along came he who so wanted to defeat our poor Ferdinand. He came out to the cheers of the crowd. Oh, he did everything that he could do to attract their attention. He twirled his cape. Oh, he bowed before the ladies. He may have even picked one out of the crowd and blew her a kiss. And then out came the bull. Ferdinand did not know what to do. The matador sat back and waited, and out came Ferdinand. He looked around. The crowd was very noisy. Ferdinand had wanted nothing more than the quiet and the peace underneath his cork tree. He wanted to smell the flowers. He looked up, and there he saw the ladies with their flowers. He wanted so to get one. Oh, but the matador would have none of it. No, no. The matador went up and swirled his cape before Ferdinand. And even though we know that Ferdinand was a gentle bull, the color red did make him ever so angry. And he charged towards the matador just to tell him to go away. And of course, the matador took great advantage and leaped aside. Ferdinand looked around, and he thought the matador was gone, but the matador had come up behind him, and Ferdinand was so scared, and the ladies threw out flowers into the center of the ring. Ferdinand was so excited, and he did what Ferdinand loved to do, and sat right down. No matter what the matador did, how he charged at Ferdinand the bull, how he danced around him, how he poked and he prodded with his knife, and with all of his equipment, Ferdinand just sat and smelled the flowers. After a while, the crowd became angry, not with Ferdinand, no, but with the matador, who didn't seem to be able to awake any interest in this peace-loving bull. Finally, they booed the matador out of the ring. All of those in charge knew exactly what they had to do. This was not a bull that would fight. This was a bull who had figured out what he wanted to do. All of the bullying in the world would not affect how he felt about himself. All he wanted was to sit and smell the flowers. So they took Ferdinand and put him in the cart that brought him out to Madrid, and they took him back to the farm and the ranch that he had come from. And there he saw. First he said hello to his mama, who greeted him so warmly, for she had known that her Ferdinand would be exactly who he was meant to be. And the story goes like this. Sitting somewhere in the fields, there was a bull named Ferdinand, and for all we know, he is sitting still, contentedly under his cork tree and smelling the flowers, being who he was meant to be, and hopefully living quite happily ever after. Ole! And that is the end. I thank you for listening to this story, however you wish to tell it. Remember, Ferdinand was not to be bullied into being who he was not. He liked to listen. He liked to be who he was. He liked to live quite happily ever after. And that I like to think is really the truth. Thanks for coming.